Welcome back, everybody. Today we're actually going to start getting ready to fire the first shots of the revolution. We'll talk about Lexington and Concord. We'll talk about the British and their nighttime raid, and we'll talk about Paul Revere himself and his famous midnight ride. That's up next. So in your notes, you need to list this as The British Are Coming Part 1, and this is Objective 1.4. If you haven't done 1.1, 2, or 3, you need to go back and do those. Also, if you haven't passed the mastery quizzes for those yet, you need to do that as well. Seeing the coercive acts as truly intolerable, the Congress sent representatives to meet in Philadelphia in September of 1774 to kind of figure out how best to respond. This was called the First Continental Congress, and the debate really centered around how best to oppose or even maybe negotiate with Parliament. Patrick Henry, who told the Second Virginia Convention of 1775, "Give me liberty or give me death," argued for the side of war. Congress decided to put on a different kind of pressure, though. They escalated the boycotts. They sent a petition, the Virginia Declaration of Rights, to King George, informing him of the rights of liberty, life, and property they deserved as Englishmen. And they endorsed the Suffolk Resolve by the leaders of Suffolk County, Massachusetts, calling on colonists to form militias and declaring the intolerable acts null and void. The delegates were hoping for the best, but were really preparing for the worst. Instead of repealing the intolerable acts, though, King George III sent more troops to Boston. So many were spying for both sides that it wasn't long before General Gage, a governor of Massachusetts, learned that the colonial militia was storing an arsenal of weapons in Concord, Massachusetts, just outside of Boston. In April of 1775, he ordered his men to head there to destroy it, and to arrest Sam Adams and John Hancock, who also was part of the Sons of Liberty. On April 18, 1775, a Sons of Liberty spy came across a British regiment preparing to march. He ran to tell Paul Revere and William Dawes, also members of the Sons of Liberty. Revere asked a man named Robert Newman to keep watch for him from the steeple of the Old North Church in Boston. Newman was told to light one lantern if the British troops were coming by land, and two if by sea. When they saw the two lanterns, Dawes took off on overland route, and Revere rode across the harbor and took a midnight ride through Charleston and on to Lexington and Concord. As he rode, he shouted, "The regulars are coming out," secret code words to warn the colonists that the British were in fact on their way. The local militia, called Minutemen, because they had to be ready in a minute, heard Revere and grabbed their weapons. When the 700 redcoats reached Lexington around dawn, about 70 Minutemen were waiting. Both sides were ordered not to fire unless fired upon. And to this day, no one actually knows who shot first. But that first shot was known as the shot heard round the world, starting the Battle of Lexington and Concord. The British quickly defeated the outnumbered Minutemen, killing 8 of them, and marched on to Concord. As the British were leaving Concord, they were surprised by more Minutemen at the North Bridge. The colonists killed about almost 200 redcoats, using the bright red jackets as targets. The British retreated to Boston, and both sides pondered their next move. So we're back again to one of my favorite times, and it's question time. Why do I need to know this, you say, Mr. Barker? Well, first, the Continental Congress is one of the real honest-to-goodness first attempts to unify the ideas of the revolution and respond to the king. There had been the Albany Plan. There had been a number of other calls for unity and for Continental Congresses. But this first Continental Congress really does bring all 13 colonies together and says, how are we going to respond? And they start to get this idea that they need to be one unified voice. Why is the shot heard round the world so important? Well, for one, any big event, for instance, in sports, that's a big upset or some big event, you'll often hear referred to as the shot heard round the world, meaning it sparked everybody's attention. Everybody suddenly was watching it. And it's a really good use of this term because it was one of the first times that a colony attempted to stand up to an imperialist power. You have British subjects, part of the British Empire, people who maybe were first generation or second generation Americans, suddenly now rebelling against the mother country. And that's a big deal. It's what really sparks our revolution. Once this begins, there is no stopping it. It is effectively a runaway train from there on out. And so that's it. If you have any questions, please let me know. We're going to talk about later on the next video kind of what's going to happen from here. We're going to have another Congress meeting. We're going to go further. We're going to start appointing people to be head of the military. And we're going to basically start getting ready for revolution. Until then, make sure you have all this in your notes. I will see you tomorrow in class. And if you have any questions, either email them to me or talk to me first thing tomorrow. Until then, have a great rest of your day, everybody. Bye-bye.